Welcome into the second episode of All About the Astros, where this week we are talking about the about last game versus UP1 Athletic Showcase and a preview of potentially the biggest game of the year versus the Dallas Prime. All on this week's episode of All About the Astros. The Astros ended up being UP1 Athletic Showcase 50-0 in just a dominating game where we had struggles before the game, though, where UP1 Athletic Showcase only had 12 to 15 players, which ended up actually changing a couple rules coming up later. This is the summary of the game with pretty much the biggest plays. In quarter number one, with 12 minutes and 33 seconds to start out the game, running back Quincy Wimbush scored a touchdown on the opening drive. And then also at 9:06 left in the first quarter, defensive back Robert Rem intercepted UP1 Athletic Showcase on a fourth down, basically air punt where the quarterback was just throwing it away just to try to see if he could get anything because it was fourth down no matter what. And then just a couple plays later, running back Trayvon Matthews scored the touchdown after the pick, and then uh, and then and then at 6:05 left in the first quarterback, wide receiver Kendall Williams caught a 10-yard receiving touchdown to put the Astros up 21-0. But actually, with 5 minutes and 57 seconds later, so a little bit after, the Astros actually called a timeout and talked to the referees and both teams about potentially tweaking some of the rules for this game due to UP1 Athletic Showcase just not having enough players, and it wasn't really competitive because all their players were really tired because most of them had to play offense and defense during this game. So a couple of the changes was the running clock and then 10-minute quarters for the rest of the game. Both of the coaches and the refs thought that this would be a good rule to change just to prevent any injuries for the up one guys, for the Huntsville Astros guys. We just, with them having just, less players, we don't want those guys getting injured whenever they travel to the game. And also a weird, different kind of switch up due to how many players showed up for Up One Athletic Showcase. Some of the Astros players ended up joining Up One Athletic Showcase for the rest of the game, and Coach Shane Anderson actually told me that it wasn't just like your backup guys like everybody would expect. There was a couple starters that joined them. It was like 5 to 10 players joined Up One just so that they had enough players where their guys could get some rest, and also for the other guys, for some of the Astros guys to get film too, some extra film, and then uh, and then after the running clock started with 1 minute and 35 seconds and 38 seconds left in the first half, linebacker Ryan Henry forced a fumble on the Up One Athletic Showcase quarterback, and then number two picked it up. I'm pretty sure it was Kip Patton picked up the fumble and just incredible hit in that game. And then at the end of the first quarter, the score was 21-0. And then at the start of the second quarter, this was whenever it was only 10-minute quarters. So with 7 minutes and 41 seconds left, kicker Nicholas Pope ended up making a field goal to make the score 24-0. And then actually with 5 seconds left in the first half, new quarterback actually this week, Ivory Durham passed a 40-yard touchdown to wide receiver Jaden Halliburton in just a beautiful ball. As Coach Shane Anderson told me, it was one of the most beautiful throws he has ever seen, just right before halftime, kind of like your buzzer beater in football terms, where then the halftime score was 31-0 Astros as they were just dominating. And then at the start of quarter number three, the second half really went quickly in this game due to the running clock. And Up One was running the ball a lot, so was the Astros. So it just kept taking time off the clock. And then in quarter number three, whenever the Astros got the ball back, with 6 minutes and 13 seconds left, linebacker Drew Davis ended up picking off the Up One Athletic Showcase quarterback and ran it pretty far. I think he ran it back like 10 yards. I thought it was going to be a pick six, but it wasn't, sadly. But then actually, a couple plays later, after they got I think it was like second down and goal, defensive lineman Tank Nichols had a big man touchdown for a 5-yard run. We all love big man touchdowns here in the IFA. Shout out to Tank Nichols. Shout out to the big boys up front. And shout out to all the big men out there. And then at the end of the third quarter, it was 44-0 Astros. And then in the fourth quarter, with 4 minutes and 37 seconds left, defensive back Trevante Gilmore ended up getting another, say it with me, pick. Another interception for this Astros defense. But then actually a couple of plays later, about a minute later, with 3 minutes and 38 seconds left, UP1 Athletic Showcase, number 12 on their team. I'm sorry I don't know their names. UP1 did not have their roster names out for the game. They did not post that publicly. But number 12 for UP1 Athletic Showcase ended up saying, you know what, you guys can pick. Well, so can I. Number 12 with the interception to give the ball back to UP1 Athletic Showcase, and probably their best play of the game. And then with 58 seconds left, once they got the ball back on another kind of air punt, defensive back Evan Cooper, who we talked about in episode 1, was one of those players that Coach Shane Anderson said was guys to look out for. Ended up getting his first pick of the year. He ended up running it back. Sadly, another good return, but not a touchdown. And then with 15 seconds left, running back DJ Law scored a touchdown just to end out the game. DJ Law, if you guys don't know, a last chance U star. You know, he played for UAB, but now he's back playing football. So shout out to DJ Law for getting that final score, where we're getting that final touchdown, where the final score was 50-0 Astros, as they have not let up a single point this year. My key takeaways from this game was, number one, the D line was eaten last game, with guys like Tank Nichols, also got the touchdown, but was just incredible. And then Taj Alston and then Ryan Henry. I mean, really this whole entire defense, but this defensive line was just all over UP1 Athletic Showcase's O-line, with some of the Astros players too. And then my second takeaway is the run game. Our run game is incredible this year, with guys like DJ Law, Quincy Wimbush, Trayvon Matthews. All of those guys, they all scored touchdowns, but they were just dominant this whole entire game, each getting kind of their own drive and then their own little quarter that they had. Also, we got to give a shout out in the run game to my boy Tank Nichols. Of course, we love the big men touchdown around here on This Week in Alabama Football and UFL Isaac and All About the Astros. It's all about the big man touchdowns too. And then my third takeaway was we actually got to see two QBs play in this game. Quarterback Ivory Durham, who was a new guy this year, and then our star quarterback Daniel Sims. Both of those guys, they didn't really throw the ball much, but whenever they did, it was really good. Both of them had significant snaps in this game. And then I think Ivory, just his touchdown right before halftime was just, a perfect ball in the perfect place to Jaden Halliburton. And then, Daniel Sims also played really good. But this game had a lot more running, just because what Coach told me this week was it's just respecting the game. The Astros probably, if they wanted to, they probably could have scored 100, really, and then just took deep shots this whole entire games. But whenever they threw it, it was little short passes, and then see what the wide receivers can do after the run, which I think is very respectful to both teams and just overall the game of football. And then my fourth kind of takeaway was, technically it was a victory. Coach Shane Anderson, whenever I talked to him last week, it was kind of like a bitter taste from this game due to the circumstances of some of the players having to switch teams, the running clock, and like this whole entire game. It just wasn't a perfect game, as in how the game went, like the kind of like politics, I guess you would say, of it. And then something that Coach Shane Anderson told me he never wants to do again, and hopefully we never see this ever again in football. But shout out to the UP1 guys who came out. I mean, they had some really good players on their team that just fought. A lot of them played both offense and defense the whole entire game. So shout out to the UP1 guys. And then my fifth takeaway is the Astros players are selfless players and care a lot about sportsmanship and all that, because we had guys that were willing to suit up for the other team just to make it a competitive game for those guys and the fans that showed up. And then my last takeaway is kicker, because I love special teams. Kicker Nicholas Pope really changed the game, though. UP1, with them having just not enough players, it was already tough. But then we have a kicker that is just having his kickoffs go to like the 5 yard line where they can only return it. So most of the time they start at the 10 to 15 yard line the whole entire time. So shout out to Nicholas Pope also getting all of his extra points and then getting his one field goal that he did make this week. So shout out to Nicholas Pope because special teams are special players too. And then my players of the game, I have my offensive player of the game. To me, it was just this whole entire run game. I don't think you could really kind of point to someone as if they were the number one guy this week. It was just everybody, you know, you know, um, with Quincy Wimbush really getting it, Trayvon Matthews in the middle of the game, and then DJ Law at the end, and then my boy Tank Nichols, of course, as we all know, getting that one rushing touchdown was just. I mean, this whole entire run game, they all had their kind of moments. Quincy started. Trayvon was in the middle, and then DJ Law was at the end. And then my defense player of the game is number 15, Taj Alston, who was just all over the quarterback this whole entire game. He was just incredible. Number 15, he was almost on every time that they snapped the football, number 15 was coming in there and really made it a tough time for their quarterback. And of course, my special teams player of the game was kicker Nicholas Pope, of course, for his kickoffs, for his extra points, made all of them, plus his field goal in the second quarter, and just really just changed the game. And as someone who can really be kind of your sneaky guy on the kickoffs, to kind of change up field position where the other team has to like go 90 to 85 yards every single drive, which is not what you want to do. But this was your game summary and recap of the game versus UP1 Athletic Showcase. We won 50-0, but let's get ready for potentially the biggest game of the year in the next segment. The next segment of this week's episode of All About the Astros is our upcoming game for the Astros. This week's game is the 1-0 Dallas Prime at the 2-0 Huntsville Astros. The Dallas Prime only win this year was actually the first game of the IFA season on May 31st, which was a win at Chihuahua Rebellion, who are an IFA team as well as with the Huntsville Astros. The Dallas Prime are an IFA showcase team, which means that if they play good this year, which they did against Chihuahua, beating them 16-0, they have a chance to be invited to join the IFA next year as full members of the league. And then the Huntsville Astros are 2-0 with the win on June 1st versus the Tennessee Hornets, who were an IFA showcase team, 45-0. And then 2 weekends ago, win versus UP1 Athletic Showcase, who were an independent team, 50-0. Neither team has allowed the opposite team to score this IFA season. So this is just a really good game. Two teams, really good defenses, really good offenses. This is probably the best game of the IFA season. And we're even going to the games that, Chihuahua, of course, they played that one game against the Dallas Prime. And then in all of the Ohio Valley Ironman games so far, and all the Huntsville Astros games so far. This is the game, so make sure that, make sure just to tune into this game because this is, prepared to be probably the best game of the year. Remember, it's Sunday, July 13th at 6 o'clock p.m. at Milton Frank Stadium. The tickets start, the tickets are $20 general admission, so that means you can sit wherever you want on eventbrite.com or at the ticket office for the game at Milton Frank Stadium. Or if you're not able to make it, the stream for the game will be on Moxie Media Productions, which is all the Huntsville Astros home game. Moxie Media Productions does an amazing job with the different camera angles, and then also their announcer is always really into it. And so, yeah, this game is just, it's probably the game of the year so far, and I can't wait for this game. My prediction is I have the Astros winning, but it's not as dominant as before. I have the Astros winning 27 to 18. That's my final score of the game. I think the Astros are just going to barely pull it out, but I'm pretty sure that the Dallas Prime are here to try to stop the undefeated streak. So both teams, one team is going home with a loss this week. So make sure to tune into the game on Moxie Media Productions or show up to Milton Frank Stadium on Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. To watch potentially the IFA matchup of the year. Our final set of Astros news before Sunday's game is actually on Saturday, July 12th from 10 a.m. to noon Central Time. Will actually be a team meet and greet at the IHOP in Huntsville, Alabama, where different Astros players and coaches will be signing autographs and taking photos with the fans that show up or anyone that shows up. The address for the IHOP will be 6151 University Drive Northwest, Huntsville, Alabama 35806. I will put that in the little description on this video, the address for the IHOP meet and greet. So just make sure you guys show up, tomorrow morning. Get some waffles, get some pancakes, anything, and make sure to comment which is better, pancakes or waffles at IHOP, and make sure you get it tomorrow and show up for your Huntsville Astros players and coaches to get ready for Sunday's incredible matchup. All right, everybody. That's this week's episode, and episode 2 of All About the Astros, where we talked about just the dominating win versus Athletic Showcase, and then a game that I cannot underestimate or just try not to hype down, because this is the game of the IFA season at home for our Huntsville Astros as we try to go 3-0, try to put up the 3, and try to get this season 3-0 as in our inaugural season would really help against a tough Dallas Prime team. So thanks for watching. Remember, comment which is better, pancakes or waffles, down on this video. And then that's it for All About the Astros. UFL Isaac out, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And on this video, UFL Isaac out, and All About the Astros out.